Welcome back. Today we're diving into something pretty crucial to the future of blockchain,
Yeah,
and that's security in the age of quantum computing.
right.
Um, Given your, already really deep understanding of blockchain, let's examine the kind of vulnerabilities and potential solutions presented in this research together.
Sure.
We're going to be analyzing a new risk assessment framework and dissecting potential quantum threats
Okay.
to things like Bitcoin and Ethereum and other major platforms.
Yeah.
And then we'll explore some innovative hybrid architectures that are, designed for a post-quantum world.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, this research provides a really comprehensive roadmap from assessing the quantum threat
hmm
to kind of taking concrete steps towards building a quantum-resistant blockchain ecosystem.
Right. Yeah, it does. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah. So why don't we just start with the quantum threat itself? I think that's a
Yeah.
good place to start.
Absolutely.
So, quantum computers with their immense processing power, it's like they pose a very unique challenge to blockchain security.
Yeah.
Can you kind of elaborate on this for us?
Well, the real power of quantum computers is in their ability to run algorithms like Shor's and Grover's,
Yeah.
which are a significant threat to the cryptographic algorithms
Hmm.
that underpin blockchain security.
Right.
And these algorithms could potentially break widely used public key crypto systems like RSA and ECDSA,
Right.
jeopardizing the security of private keys and transaction signatures.
So if someone had a sufficiently powerful quantum computer,
Mm-hmm.
they could potentially forge digital signatures
Yeah.
and compromise the integrity of transactions.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that sounds concerning.
Yeah, it is a real concern.
Do you have any kind of concrete example of what that impact could look like?
Well, just imagine someone manipulating the timestamps on Bitcoin transactions using a quantum computer.
Okay.
I mean, that could create chaos in the order of transactions, potentially enabling double spending attacks,
Right.
where the same Bitcoin is spent twice.
Okay, so that's a pretty stark illustration of the potential disruption.
It is.
Um, what about Grover's algorithm?
Yeah.
How does that factor in?
Well, while it's not as immediately destructive as Shor's algorithm,
Okay.
Grover's algorithm could weaken things like symmetric encryption and hash functions,
Mm-hmm.
forcing us to adopt much larger key sizes
Okay.
to maintain the same level of security.
I see.
It's a computational arms race,
Right.
and we need to stay ahead of the curve.
So all of this raises a question of, like, when should we expect this threat to materialize?
Yeah.
The research offers, some predictions on that,
This
right?
does, yeah.
What does it say?
It suggests there's a low likelihood of the threat emerging within the next 10 years,
Okay.
a medium likelihood within 15 years, and a high likelihood beyond 20 years.
So, I mean,
So it's coming.
it might seem far off, but developing and implementing,
Right.
effective countermeasures is going to take time.
Absolutely, yeah.
We can't afford to wait for it to be at our doorstep.
Definitely not.
So how do we actually assess and measure
Right.
these risks posed by quantum computers
Well, the research proposes
to blockchain technology?
a comprehensive risk assessment framework that systematically evaluates potential threats across all the fundamental blockchain components.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty valuable tool.
Yeah,
Can you walk us through kind of the key steps of this framework?
sure. So it starts with identifying potential threat sources, things like
Okay,
quantum algorithms, side channel attacks.
side channel attacks. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, so that's where information is leaked through the implementation of a crypto system, rather than through weaknesses in the algorithm itself,
Okay.
and then even hardware vulnerabilities.
Okay, so we're looking at like every possible angle here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once we've mapped out all the potential attack vectors, we need to pinpoint the vulnerabilities in each blockchain component.
Okay.
So the cryptographic algorithms, the protocols, the key management systems.
So it's just a matter of understanding where the weaknesses lie, I guess.
Exactly,
In
yeah.
the system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the next step is to determine the likelihood and impact of each vulnerability based on specific criteria, such as, the maturity of quantum computing technology,
Right.
the computational resources required for an attack, and then the potential consequences of
Okay.
a successful attack.
So like what would the damages be?
Exactly.
Uh,
The research actually provides a really detailed analysis of the quantum security strength of various cryptographic algorithms,
okay.
which helps us to assess their resilience against known quantum algorithms.
Okay, so we have this framework for understanding kind of where the risks are.
Right.
Now let's actually like delve into the specific vulnerabilities that quantum computers could exploit.
Yeah.
So this research, it breaks down these potential threats by blockchain component, right?
It does.
What are those?
So the research examines the potential impact of quantum computing on 5 key components. The blockchain network itself,
Oh,
mining pools, transaction verification processes, smart contracts, and user wallets.
okay. So that covers a lot of ground.
It does.
Let's take a closer look at each of these.
Okay.
So starting with the blockchain network,
Yeah.
what kinds of vulnerabilities could emerge there?
Well, at the network level, we need to consider the risk of 51% attacks,
Okay.
where a malicious actor could gain control of enough computational power to manipulate transactions or even halt the network entirely.
Okay. So that would,
Quantum computers could potentially give attackers the edge.
wow, they could control it.
They could, yeah.
That's kind of scary.
It is. It's a serious concern.
What about denial of service vulnerabilities?
Yeah, so that's another concern where attackers could flood the network with requests, overwhelming its capacity and disrupting its operations.
So they could just stop it from working.
They could, yeah.
Okay.
It's a real threat.
What about data privacy risks? So we talk a lot about the immutability of the blockchain. Is that threatened?
Well, blockchain data itself is inherently immutable,
Okay.
but a quantum computer could potentially break the encryption that protects that data,
Right.
exposing sensitive transaction details or user identities.
So the very foundation of the blockchain, the decentralized and immutable nature, is under scrutiny here.
That's right.
Yeah. The research aims to highlight these potential vulnerabilities
Right.
so that the blockchain community can develop robust countermeasures.
Okay, so we know what to look out for.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to mining pools.
Okay.
How could quantum computing impact these collaborative groups of miners?
Well, mining pools rely on consensus mechanisms
Right.
to validate transactions and maintain the integrity of the blockchain.
Right.
Quantum computers could disrupt these mechanisms,
Okay.
potentially by manipulating the reward distribution system
Right.
or introducing malicious nodes that disrupt the consensus process.
So would this be akin to a hostile takeover of a mining pool? In a way, yeah.
Wow.
It highlights the need for quantum-resistant consensus mechanisms
Right.
that can withstand the power of quantum computers.
Okay, so the mechanisms themselves have to be stronger.
I do, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now let's turn our attention to transaction verification.
Okay.
So this is the process that, ensures the legitimacy of transactions on the blockchain.
Right.
What kind of attacks could we see with that?
Well, transaction verification is a crucial aspect of blockchain security,
Right.
and it's susceptible to various attacks that could be amplified by quantum computing.
Okay.
So double spending attacks,
Right.
where the same digital asset is spent multiple times,
Correct.
are a significant concern.
Okay.
Quantum computers could potentially enable attackers to manipulate transaction data,
Right.
leading to double spending or theft of funds.
So the integrity of the individual transactions could be compromised.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Are there other types of attacks that we could see?
Yeah, there are other potential threats as well.
Like transaction malleability,
Okay.
where attackers could alter the details of a transaction without invalidating its signature,
Right.
potentially diverting funds or disrupting smart contracts.
Yeah.
There's reordering attacks where the order of transactions is manipulated, potentially leading to financial losses or manipulation of smart contract execution.
So they could just
Then there's timestamp manipulation.
strange everything.
Yeah, where attackers could change the timestamps on transactions, disrupting the chronological order of events on the blockchain,
Right.
potentially creating opportunities for fraud.
Wow. So these are
It's also transaction ID collisions.
it's kind of scary that even like a seemingly minor manipulation
Yeah.
could have these cascading consequences on the blockchain.
It can, yeah.
Okay, so transaction ID collisions, what is that?
So that's where attackers could create transactions with identical IDs,
Okay.
which creates confusion and potentially disrupts the verification process.
Right, like the system just doesn't know what to do. Okay.
And then finally, there's Oracle vulnerabilities,
Yeah.
where attackers could manipulate external data sources used by smart contracts,
Okay.
leading to incorrect execution or financial losses.
So the interconnected nature of blockchain systems means that a vulnerability in one area can just ripple through the entire ecosystem.
Exactly. Yeah. It can.
Okay, let's shift our focus to smart contracts now.
Okay.
So these are those self-executing agreements that have become, really a cornerstone of the decentralized application landscape.
Yeah.
How could quantum computers compromise the security of those?
Well, smart contracts, like other blockchain components, rely on cryptographic algorithms
Right.
for their security.
Okay.
Quantum computers could exploit vulnerabilities in these algorithms, potentially leading to theft of funds,
Okay.
manipulation of the contract logic,
Right.
or even denial of service attacks that disrupt contract execution.
Given the growing complexity and value locked in smart contracts.
Those vulnerabilities sound particularly worrisome.
They are. They are.
Do you have any specific examples
Yeah, of course.
of what those vulnerabilities could be?
So one area of concern is integer overflow and underflow,
Okay.
where calculations within a smart contract exceed the maximum or minimum values that can be represented,
Right.
which potentially leads to unexpected behavior or financial losses.
Okay.
Quantum computers could exacerbate this vulnerability
Okay.
by enabling attackers to more easily find and exploit these edge cases.
Right. So it's like
Another risk is intercontract communication issues.
they can find the weaknesses better.
Exact.
Okay. Intercontract communication issues. What's that?
So if a malicious actor could manipulate the data exchanged between different smart contracts,
Okay.
they could potentially disrupt entire decentralized applications or steal funds.
Right. So it seems like the more intricate the system is,
Mm-hmm.
the more potential points of failure there are.
Yeah, that's true.
What about attacks? Like specifically targeting the execution of smart contracts?
Yeah, so front-running attacks are a particular concern in a post-quantum world.
Okay.
So imagine a scenario where an attacker using a quantum computer can predict the outcome of a smart contract execution before it even occurs.
Okay.
They could then manipulate the transaction order to their advantage, potentially profiting at the expense of other users.
So it's not just about breaking the code.
Yeah,
It's about gaining a computational advantage
exactly.
that allows you to outmaneuver the system itself.
That's right. Quantum computing introduces a new dimension
Right.
to blockchain security.
Right.
And we need to be prepared for these more sophisticated attack vectors.
Okay, and finally, let's discuss user wallets.
Okay.
So these are the digital containers that hold our blockchain assets.
Right.
How are they threatened?
Well, wallets are often considered the most vulnerable point in the blockchain ecosystem.
Okay.
And quantum computing could amplify these existing vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
So private keys,
Right.
which grant access to a user's funds,
Mm-hmm.
are a prime target for quantum attacks.
Okay.
If an attacker could break the encryption protecting a private key, they could drain the associated wallet.
So it all comes back to the strength of our private keys
It does.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And quantum computers could potentially render current private key protection schemes obsolete.
Wow. Okay. What other vulnerabilities should users be aware of?
Well, random number generator vulnerabilities
Right.
are another concern.
Yeah.
Many wallets rely on random number generators to create those private keys.
Right.
If those generators are flawed, an attacker could potentially predict the generated keys,
Right.
compromising wallet security.
Okay.
Then there's password hashing,
Okay.
which is used to protect wallet access, and that could be weakened by quantum algorithms, making it easier for attackers to brute force passwords
Okay.
and gain unauthorized access.
So, I mean,
And finally, there's transaction interception.
it seems like even with the advancement of all this technology,
Yeah,
basic security principles remain paramount.
they do. Absolutely.
Okay, transaction interception, what does that look like?
So that's where attackers could use quantum computers to intercept and manipulate transactions before they reach the intended recipient,
Right.
potentially diverting funds or stealing sensitive information.
So it's a stark reminder that, user education and awareness is crucial here.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
we have.
And it's
A lot to take in.
a little unsettling, to be honest.
It is.
It's a little unsettling picture of the potential threats.
Mm-hmm.
But this research doesn't just outline the problems, does it?
No,
It also, delves into potential solutions.
does, and
Yeah.
that's the exciting part.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what are some of those?
Well, the next step in our deep dive here is exploring those potential solutions, particularly the promising concept of hybrid blockchain architectures, which aim to bridge the gap between existing systems
Right.
and the emerging world of quantum-resistant cryptography.
So a blend of the old and the new.
Exactly.
Wow.
Trying to take the best of both worlds and make it work.
That sounds like a critical topic for anyone, invested in the future of blockchain.
It is.
And we're going to delve into these hybrid architectures and other potential solutions
Yeah.
in part 2 of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
Looking forward to it. So let's shift our focus now to how these quantum threats, actually impact real-world blockchain platforms.
Okay.
The research, it provides a really detailed vulnerability analysis of leading platforms like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, and Zcash.
Okay, so we're moving from the theoretical to the practical now.
Exactly.
That's-
We're going to be examining how these vulnerabilities manifest in the systems that underpin billions of dollars in value.
Yeah, it's getting real now.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll start with Bitcoin.
Oh.
The most established cryptocurrency. Its security relies heavily on the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, or ECDSA, for transaction signatures, and the SHA-256 hash function for various cryptographic operations.
And as we talked about before, both of those, ECDSA and SHA-256 are vulnerable to quantum algorithms.
They are.
So what implications does this have for Bitcoin?
Well, in a post-quantum world, an attacker with a sufficiently powerful quantum computer could forge Bitcoin signatures,
Right.
potentially leading to double spending attacks, theft of funds, or even manipulation of the blockchain itself.
So it's like,
It's
not good.
it's a significant threat.
Yeah, a sobering thought for, anyone holding Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure.
What about Ethereum?
Yeah,
It's a more complex platform with smart contracts and a broader range of applications.
right.
Is it any more resistant to these threats?
Unfortunately not, no.
Yeah.
Ethereum also relies on ECDSA for digital signatures. And it uses the KEKAK 256 hash function, making it susceptible to similar quantum vulnerabilities as Bitcoin.
Right.
The complexity of Ethereum's smart contract ecosystem could even introduce additional attack vectors.
Right, because there's just more to attack.
Exactly.
More surface area.
So both Bitcoin and Ethereum, the two giants of the crypto world, they face significant challenges.
They do.
What about other platforms like Ripple, Litecoin, and Zcash?
Yeah.
Do they offer any greater resistance?
Well, Ripple, despite its more centralized nature, still employs ECDSA for signatures and relies on SHA-256 for hashing.
Right.
So it's vulnerable as well.
Okay.
Litecoin, which uses a different proof-of-work algorithm called Script, might offer some temporary resistance, but ultimately it too depends on ECDSA for security.
Okay, so it seems like the majority of these established platforms share a common weakness.
They do, yeah.
What about Zcash with its focus on privacy? Does that offer any protection? Well, Zcash utilizes a unique approach to privacy called ZK SNARKs, which stands for Zero Knowledge, Succinct, Non-Interactive Arguments of Knowledge.
Okay, so that's
It's mouthful.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a pretty complex term there.
Yeah, but it's a fascinating concept.
Yeah, okay.
Essentially, it allows transactions to be verified without revealing the sender, receiver, or amount.
So they can prove a transaction is valid without revealing any specific details.
Exactly.
Interesting. But does this make it quantum resistant?
Well, while ZK SNARKs enhance privacy,
Okay.
the underlying cryptographic primitives used in Zcash, including elliptic curve cryptography,
Right.
are still vulnerable
Okay.
to quantum algorithms.
So even the privacy-focused features of Zcash could be compromised.
They could, yeah.
Okay. This is painting a somewhat bleak picture here.
It is a challenge.
Is there any hope?
Absolutely. There's always hope.
Okay, good.
The research explores potential solutions. And one of the most promising is the concept of hybrid blockchain architectures.
Okay, hybrid.
Yeah.
So we're talking like blend of the old and the new.
Exactly. Okay.
How do these hybrid systems work?
So there are two primary approaches to hybrid architectures.
Okay.
Non-composite and composite.
Okay.
In the non-composite approach, two separate ledgers run in parallel.
Okay.
One uses classical cryptography for routine transactions,
Okay.
while the other employs post-quantum cryptography for sensitive or high-value transactions.
Okay.
This effectively compartmentalizes risk, ensuring that critical transactions are protected even if the classical ledger is compromised.
So it's like a dual system
Exactly.
where the most valuable transactions are shielded by this quantum-resistant cryptography.
Precisely.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the composite approach?
So in the composite architecture, both classical and post-quantum cryptographic methods are integrated within a single ledger.
Okay.
This offers greater flexibility and efficiency, but it also presents more significant integration challenges.
Right. So each approach has trade-offs.
It does, yeah.
Like the non-composite model, it's simpler to implement,
Right.
but could lead to, fragmentation, potentially higher operational costs. The composite model, while more complex,
Right.
it offers greater scalability and potentially a smoother transition.
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
Okay.
The research really delves into the nuances of each approach,
Okay.
weighing the pros and cons in terms of security, integration, simplicity, performance, scalability, and even adoption challenges.
So we're not just talking about swapping out algorithms here.
No.
We're discussing a fundamental shift in how these blockchains are structured and operate.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, to kind of illustrate the practical aspects here,
Mm-hmm.
the research explores hybrid approaches for key encapsulation mechanisms and encryption, often shortened to Chimency,
Right.
and digital signatures.
Yeah.
So while we've discussed digital signatures extensively,
Right.
currency is a little less familiar.
It is, yeah.
Can you explain its relevance?
Sure. So while digital signatures secure transactions on the blockchain,
Sure.
Chimency plays a vital role in securing communication and key exchange off-chain.
Off-chain, okay.
So this includes things like wallet security, secure messaging between users,
Mhm.
and the growing field of Layer 2 applications built on top of existing blockchains.
So securing the broader ecosystem.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh.
Not just the transactions on the blockchain itself.
Okay, so how does this hybrid approach apply to Chimency?
Well, the hybrid approach for Chimency involves combining multiple algorithms using specific combiners.
Okay.
This creates a hybrid algorithm whose security is as strong as its strongest component.
Right,
One example is the concatenation combiner,
right.
where the outputs of multiple Chimency algorithms are simply combined together.
So we're combining different algorithms to create a more robust system.
Precisely.
Oh.
And it's a similar concept for digital signatures.
Right.
The hybrid approach combines multiple signature algorithms, again using various combiners, to enhance overall security.
Right.
One example is weak nesting, where one signature algorithm is used to sign the output of another.
So it's this idea of like combining existing and emerging cryptographic techniques to create this multi-layered defense.
Yeah, it's a really pragmatic and adaptable approach.
Okay.
Allows us to leverage the strengths of current systems while integrating the latest quantum-resistant solutions
Right.
as they mature and
Sure.
become standardized.
Let's assume we can navigate this transition to hybrid architecture successfully.
Yeah.
What other challenges lie ahead?
Well, the research outlines several key challenges and future research directions.
Okay.
Compatibility is a major hurdle.
Okay.
Ensuring that new quantum-resistant algorithms work seamlessly with existing protocols and data structures.
Right. We can't just like break everything.
Exactly. We can't afford to break the existing functionality of blockchain systems during this transition.
Right. Right. And what about performance and scalability?
Yeah, that's a big one.
You know, these new algorithms, they require more, they have larger key sizes,
Right.
more complex computations.
Yeah, they could potentially slow down transaction speeds,
Right.
increase costs.
So maintaining that efficiency and speed
Mhm.
is really important.
It is, absolutely.
Okay.
We need to carefully consider the performance implications of these new algorithms and explore optimization techniques.
And then how do we manage these larger keys?
Right. Key management becomes even more critical in a post-quantum world.
Right.
Securely generating, storing, and distributing these quantum-resistant keys is a significant challenge.
So it's like every aspect of the current system needs to be reevaluated.
It does.
Potentially redesigned.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, what about interoperability?
Yeah, that's another big one.
You know, as we transition,
Mhm.
different blockchains might adopt different quantum-resistant solutions.
Right.
How do we make sure they can still talk to each other?
Maintaining interoperability is essential.
Yeah.
We need to establish standards and protocols that enable communication between nodes using different cryptographic systems,
Right.
ensuring a cohesive and functional blockchain ecosystem.
And perhaps most importantly, we need to like safeguard that decentralized nature of blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crucial.
We can't let this transition come at the cost of, ceding control
Right.
to a select few entities.
Yeah, maintaining decentralization is paramount.
Got it.
As we implement these more complex solutions,
Right.
we need to be vigilant in preventing centralization of power or control within the blockchain ecosystem.
And, we can't overlook the governance and economic considerations here. Right.
No, absolutely not.
How do we ensure a fair and equitable shift for all the participants in the blockchain ecosystem?
Right. This transition needs careful planning and collaboration.
Yeah.
We need to consider the economic implications, potential disruptions,
Mhm.
and ensure that all stakeholders have a voice in shaping this new quantum-resistant blockchain landscape.
So this is a complex, multifaceted challenge.
It is.
And, this research, it's been really helpful, provides valuable insights, and a roadmap for moving forward.
Absolutely.
But where do we go from here?
That's a great question.
What are the next steps?
And that's precisely what we're going to explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll examine specific blockchain platforms leading the charge in quantum resistance.
Okay, so we're going to
Offering a glimpse into what the future might hold.
get into some specifics.
We are, yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
Me too.
So we've explored, the potential threats posed by quantum computing, and we've delved into the tactical aspects of these hybrid blockchain architectures.
Yeah.
But now let's kind of zoom out
Okay.
and examine the broader impact
Right.
on various stakeholders within the blockchain ecosystem.
Yeah, it's crucial to understand that these quantum threats don't just target the technology itself. They also target the people and organizations that rely on it.
Right. The humans.
Exactly. So the research uses the STRIDE model,
Stride model.
which stands for spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege.
Okay, so that's a lot
It is. It's a comprehensive model.
to categorize these threats,
Yeah.
to understand their implications.
So the STRIDE model provides a framework for assessing how different stakeholders might be impacted.
Exactly. It helps us to see the bigger picture.
Can you give us some concrete examples of how these threats might play out?
Sure. So let's start at the network level.
Okay.
Spoofing attacks, where malicious actors impersonate legitimate nodes using quantum computers,
Okay.
could disrupt network communication and potentially manipulate transaction data.
Okay, so they're like pretending to be somebody they're not.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Then there's tampering attacks where the blockchain data itself is altered.
So that's like changing the data on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Right, which could undermine the integrity of the entire system.
Okay, and repudiation attacks.
Yeah, where attackers deny their actions.
So they're like, I didn't do it.
Exactly, even though they did.
Right, which could create confusion and erode trust.
So it's not just about stealing funds or disrupting transactions.
Right.
It's about potentially undermining the very foundation of,
Right.
trust that blockchain is built on.
Exactly. Trust and transparency.
Right.
And then there's the risk of information disclosure,
Okay.
where sensitive transaction data or user identities could be exposed
Right.
if quantum computers break the encryption,
Right.
protecting that information.
So that's a big one.
It is. And then we have denial of service attacks,
Right.
which we discussed earlier.
Hmm.
They could cripple network operations,
Right.
prevent legitimate users from accessing their assets or executing transactions.
Okay. And then the last one, elevation of privilege attacks.
These could grant unauthorized access to critical functions.
Potentially allowing malicious actors to control or manipulate the blockchain itself.
So it seems like no one is immune here.
No one is immune.
From individual users to large-scale service providers.
Right.
And even regulatory bodies.
It's a systemic risk.
Okay, let's consider the implications for miners.
Okay, so for miners,
Yeah.
quantum computing could enable malicious actors to gain a significant advantage in mining.
Okay.
Potentially leading to 51% attacks,
Right.
where they control a majority of the network's computational power.
Okay, so they could
This could disrupt consensus mechanisms, double spend coins.
they could take over.
Yeah, and ultimately compromise the entire blockchain.
Wow, a hostile takeover of the blockchain itself.
It's a real possibility.
What about service providers?
Right, so service providers,
They often act as these intermediaries, right?
they handle sensitive user data and facilitate transactions.
Okay, so how are they impacted?
Well, they face significant data security risks. If quantum computers break the encryption, protecting user data,
Right.
it could lead to large-scale data breaches, identity theft, financial losses.
Right.
Trust in these service providers would erode,
Mm-hmm.
potentially hindering the wider adoption of blockchain technology.
So it's like this domino effect.
It is,
Where a breach in one area can cascade
Exactly.
throughout the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, the whole thing is interconnected.
What about the impact on individual users?
So for end users,
Yeah.
the most immediate threat is to their wallets.
Right.
As we discussed earlier, if private keys are compromised through quantum attacks,
Mm-hmm.
their funds could be stolen.
Right.
And phishing attacks already a major problem,
Yep.
could become even more sophisticated
Okay.
with the help of quantum computers.
So,
Imagine malicious actors crafting highly personalized and convincing phishing campaigns
there can be.
that trick users into revealing their private keys or login credentials.
Even better at tricking people.
Exactly. It's going to be a challenge.
So it's a reminder that user education
Yeah.
and awareness is going to be super important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, but it's not just about users.
Yeah.
Developers also face challenges.
Right. Yeah. Developers need to transition blockchain protocols and smart contracts
That's tough.
to these quantum-resistant algorithms,
Right. So
which is a complex, time-consuming, and resource-intensive process.
that's a big job ahead.
It is, and even with the best intentions, there's always the risk of introducing new vulnerabilities
Right.
during the transition.
So it's like a race against time.
It is.
Okay, what about the regulators?
Right. So regulators face the daunting task of updating legal frameworks
Okay.
to address the implications of quantum computing. They need to establish standards for quantum-resistant cryptography,
Right.
provide guidance to businesses operating in the blockchain space,
Mm.
and ensure that the transition to a post-quantum world doesn't stifle innovation
Right.
or compromise user privacy.
It's a tough job.
It is, yeah.
And let's not forget the auditors.
Right. Auditors play a crucial role.
Mm-hmm.
They need to develop new methodologies and tools
Okay.
to assess the quantum readiness of blockchain systems.
So they have to, figure out how to audit these systems.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Identify vulnerabilities, assess the effectiveness of implemented countermeasures,
Right.
and guide organizations toward best practices for quantum-resistant security.
It's clear that everybody's got a part to play in this.
Everyone does, yeah. It's a collaborative effort.
Okay. Amidst all these challenges and disruptions,
Mm-hmm.
are there any glimmers of hope?
Absolutely. There's always hope.
Okay, good.
The research showcases several blockchain platforms that are leading the charge
Okay.
in adopting quantum-resistant cryptography.
So, who's doing it well?
So platforms like QRL, Komodo, Nexus, Tidecoin, Abelian, LLaxchain, QAN, HDAsh, and IOTA
Okay.
are actively exploring and implementing various approaches.
So there's a sense of, optimism?
There is, yeah.
Innovation.
Definitely.
Despite this looming threat.
It's a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the blockchain ecosystem.
Yeah, so they're using different approaches, right?
Yeah, they're employing diverse approaches from lattice-based cryptography,
Okay.
which is considered one of the most promising post-quantum approaches to hash-based and code-based cryptography.
So they're trying different things.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay, it's exciting to see.
So this deep dive has been, really fascinating.
It has.
It's a complex and rapidly evolving landscape.
It is.
It's clear that the future of blockchain hinges on
Yeah,
how we navigate these challenges,
absolutely.
presented by quantum computing.
The quantum computing revolution is inevitable.
Right.
And its impact on blockchain technology will be profound.
Mhm.
However, by understanding the risks, researching solutions, and collaborating effectively,
Mm-hmm.
we can ensure that blockchain continues to thrive
Right.
in a post-quantum world. The research we've discussed today provides a valuable roadmap for this journey.
Yeah, this deep dive has really highlighted not just the vulnerabilities,
Right.
but also the ingenuity and resilience
Absolutely.
of the blockchain community.
Yeah, it's an exciting space to be in.
So as we conclude this episode, we encourage you to explore the references mentioned.
Yeah, definitely check those out.
For further insights, stay informed, stay engaged,
Stay curious.
and together,
yeah.
let's shape a secure and decentralized future for blockchain technology.
That's the goal.